What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Coast to Coast. I'm Ronan Gain. Joining me, as always, Chris Nambu. Thank you so much for making this your first podcast for NBA coverage. Got a lot to discuss today. We've been watching the Philadelphia 76ers for just over a week. A lot of stuff to get into there. The Joel Embiid of it all. Tyrese Maxey taking over. VJ Edgecombe just looking confident as hell out there. A lot to get into on the 76ers. We've got to talk about the Knicks. They are in a really bad moment right here. It looks like a complete disconnect on the floor. Stuff coming out about Mike Brown and the players just not really vibing. What's going to happen there? We'll get into it all. And of course, we got to talk about the Golden State Warriors. Can we finally call death on the Golden State dynasty after Jimmy Butler's injury? We're going to get into all that and much more. Before we do, Chris, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Fresh off a little vacation. Was just out at the Colorado River. Highly recommend if no one has ever been to the Southwest, you've never seen the desert, never seen the cliffs, been out there, it's beautiful. So, been out there, get some rest and relaxation. It helped me get over the heartbreaking loss of the Bears. Still a great season, man. I'm still just riding high off of all those games. That just insane throw from Caleb Williams, still riding high off. But I'm good. I'm ready to talk about the 76ers, and I think that's going to first place where we're going to land. It's a bummer how the record looks right now, but I think we got an interesting look into what they've been doing this season.
Yeah, what is? I'll just throw it out broadly. What was your biggest takeaway locking in on them over the last week?
I think the biggest takeaway when you watch them is, for me, it's versatility. I think you let's start with the positives there. I think the encouraging signs of this team is that they're a very different beast than they used to be with Embiid in the past. They're a one-trick pony, but that was a very good trick, a very good pony. I mean, Joel Embiid, MVP mode, can do just about anything. You put some reasonable players around that guy, you create some spacing, and he's going to get you a lot of wins. He's probably going to get you to the playoffs. Now that we have a different version of Embiid, you have two guards that get downhill, give them spacing. They can play off of each other. You can run a lot of ball actions for them. They can run off ball. You have a couple actually interesting young bigs that you can rotate in, play a little bit of small ball, especially with the defense that you've seen from Oubre. So defensively, you see a little bit of versatility there. And then you just throw in a guy like Paul George. Has he been all NBA level Paul George yet? No. But, I mean, he still has his moments, and he's a guy that is not going to turn the ball over. He's an ISO player. He can go get you a bucket. And there's a lot of different guys you can turn to. There's a lot of different ways that you can play with this roster. And I think they're just still in the process of figuring that out. And while on the positive of it, versatility is the broad takeaway. I think that also gives them a lot of room for improvement, which I think you could pose as a negative in terms of like they haven't quite figured themselves out yet. They're not quite consistent yet. But I think you see a lot of potential in the different types of play that they can get to on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I think, and they're in a nice position. Obviously, I know we all know they had a horrendous year last year, completely crapped out, but they obviously got VJ Edgecombe out of it. He's looking great. I'm loving the confidence that he's playing with, the way he's shooting the ball with just no hesitation whatsoever has been great to see. And then you look at this year, and you still, like, as much as like their record is maybe not what they want it to be, and Philadelphia has high expectations, they still expect to be one of the top seeds in the East. They're probably still, I still feel pretty confident saying they're probably a pretty strong bet, if not a lock, to at least get the sixth seed in the Eastern Conference. They're kind of in that battle with the Cavs and maybe the Raptors for that sort of 5-6 area there. So I think that's like a great position for them to be in, where they're still figuring it out, but also still winning games and still in a position where they can make some noise like as we get to the playoffs, especially with some of the struggles we've seen from the Knicks, the fact that we still don't know whether Tatum or not will be back with the Celtics. The Magic have been inconsistent. The Cavs have been inconsistent. Like, Philadelphia is in a good place right now. I'm watching them play. Yeah, it was pretty up and down. I think they actually split the games that we watched over the course of it. But when you see them get hot, they can score and play with the best of them.
No, yeah, it's funny because they've not beat the best teams. They've done decent against 500 teams, and they've played well against bad teams. They sandwiched the last 2 weeks with a win against the Wizards, win against the Pacers, but they lose the Suns. A couple losses back-to-back to the Cavs. Really close heartbreaker to the Raptors. I mean, they really should have gotten 2 wins in a row there against the Raptors if they take care of business. But I think they've shown that they're really the epitome of the Eastern Conference. I think
Hmm.
that they have a lot of talent. They have a lot of ups and downs. They're just not consistent yet. Um, let's keep on the positive. Like what have you seen from their play that gives you faith that they'll continue to get better? Is there anything that you saw there?
I think it's just more. There's more playmaking. Different guys are getting time with the ball in their hands, and
Yeah.
there's a bit more kind of flow to their offense. It's not just so centric on like getting the ball to Embiid, letting him go ISO, letting him go one on one. I like the versatility that they play with now, and I like the fact that they're giving Edgecombe chances to have the ball in his hands, not just be an off ball player. Obviously, Maxey looking great out there. We're still getting moments from Grimes, and like obviously Embiid is still doing his thing when he's out there as well. So I think the fact that it's not just so driven towards get the ball to Embiid as quickly as possible, and then just everyone else just space the floor. I think that's kind of the thing, something that really interests me, and that's a great sign. And I think the fact that it's okay, it's not working perfectly right now, but the fact that it's still delivering wins and delivering good performances, I think that's a great sign for them.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the thing that's looks good for me as well is you always want to have your best players on the floor when they have their best four guys out there, and you have Embiid, you have Paul George, you have Maxey, you have Edgecombe. You don't necessarily see a discomfort. Like there's not this like stark toggling between okay, it's Maxi time, okay, it's Embiid time, it's George time, it's Edgecombe time. It doesn't feel like that all the time. And I think there's still some moments where it feels that maybe the strategy is tilted a little bit too much towards, all right, let's get Embiid some touches in the post, let's get Paul George going. And sometimes, especially for us, we're a little excited about these guards that maybe you want to see them initiating a little bit more. But it seems to be a lot more matchup based. It feels that, if Maxi has an advantage, they're spreading the floor a little bit more for him. They're flattening out the corners. They're instead of it being a switch to get Embiid a post, maybe he's popping out and getting a three, which, we'll talk about Embiid a little bit. But I definitely think that, Embiid has played a pretty big role in allowing Maxi to be an all-star this year. He's stepped aside at times, and he's been a good three-point shooter for him. He's spread the floor for him well, and he's not, demanded the ball. There's never been this discomfort that you might expect for a guy who's trying to reclaim his career, really. And Maxi, who's just coming into his own. So I think that's been a really encouraging sign that while it's not been perfect, I think there's still ways to go, and maximizing their talents on the floor. There's been some good ebb and flow. There's been some good sharing of the ball, and Maxi's been allowed to become now as we mentioned it just recently. We found out that he's his first All Star starter appearance, so that's exciting for him.
Yeah, no, I mean Maxi's just he's been unbelievable, and like averages on the season, basically averaging 30 points per game and 7 assists. He's actually averaging three stocks a game as well, which is like really impressive. Just over 2 steals and 1 block a game. Over his last 3 games, he has 16 steals.
Yes. Wow.
Like it's been unbelievable. He's also leading the league in minutes. He's got the fifth most 30-point games. Like he's just been absolutely incredible. Like he is the star boy of this team, and I'm just like I'm like looking at it and I'm just excited for him to just have more opportunities to showcase his greatness, because he is, like we've talked about it a million times, like he is one of the most fun guys to watch in the NBA.
Yeah. What have you felt about their depth? I feel like we went into the season not quite sure, but I mean, I'm looking at this team and the moments they had over the last week. Of course, we're talking about losses, but now I've seen that they've had good depth. I actually like their big rotation. It's a little bit full right now, and there's not like that obvious guy. They don't have their Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench or something like that. But they have an interesting mix. Andre Drummond is always a guy who can start, get you 20 rebounds in a game if he is given the minutes. You got that energy from Adem Bona, who's continued to show flashes like as a weak side defender. Still kind of growing a bit as a drop defender, but a lot high activity. You got guys like Barlow. Like Barlow, I did not have scouting report, but love his energy. He's got great feel for the game. Been really good as a cutter, playing off of these playmakers, and good at attacking the boards. And that's one thing that these small bigs have done. Bona, Walker, Barlow. It's been a big reason why they're eighth in offensive rebounding percentage, and you feel that. You feel their energy on the offensive boards, and you feel that their big rotations actually been a quiet strength of theirs.
Yeah, no, and it's been surprising as well. Like you kind of thought, oh, this is grand. Yeah, they got Embiid there. The Drummond will probably play a lot of minutes with Embiid being in and out of the lineup and not playing full minutes and things like that. But then Bona's really kind of solidified himself as like an important rotation piece for this team, and like they need all the help they can get because they need to be able to have different options to when they need to rest Embiid or when they just need to give him a little break during games that he is playing in. Like that's like obviously crucial. We all know that making sure Embiid is at full tilt for the playoffs is the most important thing. It's something we've never seen. It's something that the 76ers have got to try and figure out. So having these extra bigs that can play minutes is huge for them.
Yeah, I don't think that that's something I expected going into the season. Now, I want to talk a little bit about VJ. I think we talked about
Mm-hmm.
VJ a lot this season, um, but I think it's been cool to see him, continue to perform. I think the one thing that I noticed the most for him is just his physicality and his athleticism. It just constantly pops up, and it's always surprising. With his handle the way it is, I think it continues to get better, and I think as his handle gets better, and he can really use that to continue exploiting mismatches, getting to the rim. Like his first step is just faster than most. Like there are
Mm-hmm.
times where it feels like he has almost like a Donovan Mitchell level first step, and it's not there all the time. But if he has a slower wing, like he's just gonna get by it, and that's something that I feel like is going to continue to be there for him. But his ability to get in the basket, man, on the offensive end has been great. His willingness to shoot continues to really impress me. I think that he's far from a finished product there. You saw at times when 76ers offense is going, defenses won't quite respect him as a shooter, and it kind of shrinks the floor a little bit. But as he works on that shot, I mean, that's going to continue to be a big part of his game. But I feel like the more we hone in on this guy, man, I feel like he's going to be a multi-time All-Star in the future. It just feels undeniable at this point. Like he's just got too many good things going for him. The on-ball defense, he can be a playmaker at times. You want him to be attacking the passing lanes. If he can be um, really just a demon in the open court, like they are getting a lot of opportunities with him when he's running the floor. Um, and then I think the half court game has just been great. I don't think anybody thought he was going to be a good half court player. And he's been serviceable there. Like he's been a good part of this offense in the half court.
Yeah, and we get like some like almost near flashes of LeBron James, and we see some of the recovery blocks that he's been making as well. Like
Yeah,
his athleticism is like it's off the charts, and like you said, like as he continues to work on that shot, I think that the most important thing for him this year is the fact that he's like shooting without any fear. I think that's
yeah,
great, and there's get those shots up. Like we just want him to. Philly just need to see him grow and be confident, and then maybe when they get to the playoffs and he gets an open look, like he's going to be willing to take that shot. Like that could end up being crucial for them this season, and then of course it's going to stand to him as they continue to move forward. And like it's been great for them, especially because obviously we've seen McCain kind of struggle. Obviously he had that knee injury that cut his season
yeah.
short last year, then the thumb injury this year, and now he's in the G League, and then you kind of just like you just get that pit in your stomach, like are these injuries gonna completely derail him, or is this just kind of a sophomore slump? Like it's gonna be interesting to see how that goes, but you can kind of forget about it for a while because of the performances of Edgecombe.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely. Maybe we'll talk about the negative parts in a little bit, but yeah, unfortunate to see that McCain's not a part of this, and hopefully, things will change there. Um, Anywhere else on? Well, the other thing that looking at their offense, I think a lot of the positives I've seen is from the offense here. Um, but you look at how they're getting their points and how they're holding up their half court because we actually know that the half court's not too great.
Yeah.
They're not great in the half court. Sometimes as things have slowed down, as we've seen in the last few games, they've not really performed well there. Their free throw rate is going to continue to be good, and I think that that's one of the things about their floor. We talk about their ceiling a lot. They have a high ceiling because if all things work out, they have so many offensive talent. I think they have a pretty decent floor at this point too. Like Embiid is always going to get to the line. Paul George is going to find his way to the line. They got two guys who are going to continue to attack. They're seventh right now in free throw rate, and you continue to see that. And as Embiid continues to get more healthy, as he plays more minutes, if he continues to be consistent staying on the floor, I think that is a big part of why they're going to be there. And let's just jump to the half court part. I'm kind of curious as to why they've been so meh there. They're 17th right now in half court offensive rating, and sometimes you see things just not really work smoothly there. And I think that's part of what we talked about. They don't have their flow there all the time, especially when all their guys are on the floor. Um, and I think I want to hone in on Embiid at this point. I'm not going to blame Embiid for the half court offense. I do think there are times when it's all right. Let's feed Embiid mode. Let's just try and get him going. And you look at his shooting splits, and he's not quite had an efficient year. Right now, he's 31st and 30th in percentile efficiency, both at the rim and the short mid range, where he's been great before. He's only shooting 60% at the rim, which is pretty close to a career low for him. And you've just not seen him quite be at that level yet. I think he's getting there, but yeah, it's not quite where I think it needs to be.
No, that's been the major thing with watching Embiid over this past week is just the fact that he's just like he's getting better. We can see that he's improving, but like just like the paint presence on both ends is just so far from what we expect from Embiid, and so far from I get what the 76ers really need from Embiid to be considered one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. Like rebounding, that those numbers have been down. Like protecting the paint, those numbers have been down. And then you watch him and how often he's like missing shots at the rim and not getting off his feet at all, and
Yeah.
that's causing him to miss shots. And you think that's hopefully just a growth thing, but how long does there's obviously a thing in the back of his head that's saying I can't do this, and how long is that going to last? Is he going to be able to get over it?
Yeah, I mean, he tried to off the backboard dunks. I mean, there's it's clearly starting to get a little bit more comfortable. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the rim presence, and this is not just on Embiid. I think the rim presence too is what has concerned me a bit with this team. Um, he is having his weakest year defending the rim. Opponents are
Mm-hmm.
shooting 60% at the rim against him. And you look at your elite bigs, you're typically looking closer to 50%. And you kind of see it on the floor. Like teams are not afraid to go at the rim, and when they go small ball, there's not really rim protection there as well, and it's led them to kind of give up a lot of attacks to the rim, and it doesn't help when they are very bad offensive rebounding. They're second last in the opponent offensive rebounding percentage. It's a product of them trying to get out and run. They're trying to get their offense going, but they give up a lot of points in the paint. They give up a lot of offensive rebounds. And you saw it against the Cavs. I mean, the Cavs have a strong interior presence. They took advantage of this. They're really able to get in the rim. They scored almost 100 points in 2 games against them back to back. That was not an adjustment that they can really make there. And that's something that I'm not sure how much they're going to be able to change. Embiid's their only real rim protector. Bonus solid. I think again he's more kind of weak side, able to help you out there if he's playing off the ball, but he's not really shown that he's been an elite like drop defender. But a lot of their defense is going to have to come from their perimeter, and it's not been consistent. Especially against the Raptors, you see that there's a lot of them playing a lot of gap defense, and a lot of Raptors get downhill and they come up, and then they're giving up drives to the rim, and there's obviously a lot of ebb and flow in all these games that depends on the matchup, but they are still hovering right outside the top 10. So I mean, I'm not that worried about their defense as a whole, but I just wonder, what their peak will be defensively without like true rim protection if Embiid's not really going to get there yet.
Yeah, no, that was interesting because obviously, like watching the games, there's a lot of kind of lulls in their defense, and then obviously you're looking at the stats of the season, and they're right outside top 10, and you're kind of like, it's interesting because from what I'm watching, they could easily be a bottom 20 defense because they just can't find that consistency, and obviously everyone has moments, but there's been no real standout perimeter defender, and like we said, like Embiid is struggling as a rim protector and a defensive anchor this year. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that improves moving forward, and if as we see Embiid continue to get better, does that rim protection, does that rim presence start to improve as well?
Yeah. I think that they're if I really like think out their if we're thinking playoffs, like what is their peak defensive ability? Because I think about this with teams, we'll talk about the Knicks soon, but I think about this with teams like the Knicks that, maybe they're not really performing to this level in the regular season, but we see a lot of teams, amp that up, like your Pacers, right? Like there are teams that can play playoff level defense that they didn't really get to in the regular season. And what do we see with 76ers? We see that they can play small, they can play switchable. If they want to play, your Trent Watfords, Dembona is a little switchy. Your Jabari Walkers, Kelly Oubre can play the four. Same with Paul George. You can play a lot of small ball that you can switch a lot. If you don't feel like you're confident with your rim protection, you can really just kind of switch everything. BJ, I trust him on threes. Some much smaller fours, maybe even he can get to that point. Probably not going to help their offensive rebounding, but there's optionality there. I think there's still a higher ceiling for them, even if they're not going to be an elite rim protecting team. I think that what they need to clean up the most is the rebounding over anything.
Yeah, no, the rebounding is key, and that's where a lot of pressure does fall on the shoulders of Joel Embiid. But continuing on kind of the negative side of it, I know like we've been watching, and Paul George he's been fine, but I'm still just like whenever I watch it, I'm just kind of like I kind of can't wait for him to be off this team. I'm looking forward to him not being there, just the presence that I feel like the presence is going to slowly become more and more of a negative, and when like you're paying him as much money as you are and he's still out there, and then you're still going to have these expectations that I just don't think he's ever going to deliver on. So I think getting rid of him feels like an important step in the future of this 76ers team.
You know, I haven't felt that, to be honest. I think the contract situation, the cap situation, absolutely, I totally get it. And like, could that money be spent elsewhere? Probably. But I think he actually offers a lot for this team, and I think he fits a supercharged Tobias Harris role for the. He's a great release valve. He's always going to be going to command gravity as a shooter. I think he's always going to be a guy that at the end of a shot clock, if you need to create a bucket, his mid-range creation is still there. It's not to the elite point that it's been before, but he's still going to be able to get to a shot. As a defender, you still have to respect him. He's not a mismatch. So I feel like he's not hurting this team. He's actually third in plus minus in this team as a whole. So he's been objectively good. He's just not been all NBA Paul George good, which is fair. You don't expect that from him, and I think that's part of the ceiling, right? I think that's our big question that we get to. I think there's a couple players to look at, and one of them is Paul George. I think we know Embiid, that's something we've talked about all the time. If he gets to his MVP level, yeah, we know what their ceiling is. Yeah. But if this is just Embiid, where could they get better? Does Paul George get better? I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. I guess it's more noticeable now, the fact that Embiid is not at full tilt either. When we get Embiid and Maxey are both going at full tilt, and obviously what we've seen from Edgecombe, maybe then it's easier to kind of see a future with Paul George just being sometimes a go-to guy, just being a solid defender, just being a solid part of the team. That could be like that makes more sense then. But for right now, obviously, I feel like it's kind of standing out for me. But like obviously, that can quickly change with Embiid getting back at full tilt, I think.
Yeah, and thinking about the ceiling, thinking about players who have not really been involved here. You mentioned Jared McCain. He was a guy that I was excited about. That he was coming off the meniscus injury, had to rehab from the UCL injury, and still not really getting in the rotation. Bit of a little stinker in the G League. Do you think he has a place on the team?
I hope he still does, because I mean he was so fun to watch. He was actually maybe the only bright spark of the 76ers last year and this season. Like, but at the same time, it was only a 23 game sample that we saw from Jared McCain. So yeah, it's a tough one. You hope that this is just a sophomore slump and he's just going to get past these injuries and be able to get back to the player that we thought we were seeing last year. But yeah, at the moment, there's definitely a big question mark around him.
Yeah, I mean you'd hope that he'd get a little bit more time behind Maxey. Grimes is eating up a lot of those minutes, and I don't know. Grimes is a negative 2.7 plus minus. Like he's had good moments, but I think Grimes is still like who he is. Like he has his moments. He's going to be a good rotation player, but I think his flashes of like 40-point games. He's not going to be a 20-point per game scorer. He's going to have his nights where he's not an elite defender. He's a good, solid defender. He's not a big difference maker there. He's not a shot creator, and he's not a consistent night in night out off ball 3-point shooter. I think
Yeah.
we know that's who he is. Like he's a good rotation player. I'm okay with that. I would love to see Nurse just try to get him in there, to get McCain some more minutes, and even if it's at the expense of Grimes, even maybe a little bit expensive Oubre. Does your defense suffer from that? Probably a little bit. I think so. But to have another shot creator out there, to have another um, good 3-point shooter, I think my vision of who Jared McCain is that he's at minimum an elite 3-point shooter, and at maximum, I mean, you see shades of Jalen Brunson. I'm not saying he's a Jalen Brunson level player. Not saying he's a Steph Curry level player, but his movement shooting, his ability to create off the dribble, his ability to really get to the paint at will at times if you give him a good spacing and a pick and roll, like that is not something you get a lot in the NBA. And you got to explore that because now you're seeing some noise like, oh look, he's not doing it in the G League, he's not really getting minutes. We need a little bit more perimeter defense. Why don't we trade him? Like, no, that is just not my thought process at all. And I've seen some noise on that from the 76ers fan base. I say, like, this guy you want to be patient with. You want to wait for a time for him to get into the rotation. And now is better a time than ever, right? You're going to have these inconsistencies. You're gonna have these lulls in the season. And you just have to just try it out. You just have to try getting him in there. And whether you lose a couple games, whether maybe he throws up a couple stinkers, I think he's the kind of player that you live with that. You absolutely live with that because you think about him being the sixth man of this team. That's a tantalizing feature of this team. When I envision them at their best, I envision Jared McCain being that spark plug off the bench and being a very efficient scorer at that.
Yeah, now this like element, like you said, like rumors of like trades and stuff like that. That's like the ugly side of Philadelphia sports, where it's just
Yeah.
so, like, just so much pressure right away, and no like no room for these young guys to try and like give them a chance to kind of grow a little bit. Like, yeah, that's tough. I think it'd be a crazy decision if they were looking to move him right now.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the 76ers?
Could be better, but I feel like they're trending upwards.
Yeah, I still think my end impression of them is still, they just had a pretty ugly homestand. Like they had a couple
Hmm.
losses back to back to the Cavs. They did get one win out of two against the Raptors, and they lost to the Suns. Fans booing, but I think I still have the same hope for them, and I think they show enough where I think their absolute upside potential. They can still argue, hey, like we have enough talent, we're still working on things. We could be that dark horse Eastern Conference champion. I still think that's in the cards for a team that has a Joel Embiid who's found his joy again, Paul George who's still like kind of getting into things, a rookie that's ascending, a most improved player who's probably could be another most improved. I know that doesn't happen, but like a first time All Star starter in Maxey. They got some depth. Like there's just a lot of ingredients here where that could be the final outcome, and I think that it's still within the realm of possibility. I think it's more exciting to be a 76ers fan today than honestly ever. I think there's just so much uncertainty we had before when it's all on Embiid's shoulders. There's a lot more to this recipe that makes me excited about this Philadelphia team.
Yeah, and this feels like a dark horse year because, of course, as we know, the team that were supposed to be far and away the best team in the Eastern Conference this year, the New York Knicks, can't seem to win a game of basketball right now.
Yeah, let's go there. You guys have slid. I think I tried to send you a little consolation text. I'm like, it's early in the season, but now, I think things are moving entirely in the wrong direction. You guys have lost 9 of your last 11 games. And I think this Mavericks loss is the key inflection point where the noise could never be louder and the calls for trades will never be louder. And that 75-point halftime lead, or the
Yeah,
75
giving
points
it
given
up,
up
yeah.
to Mavs. Without Irving, obviously without Davis, you didn't have Gaffer, no Washington, no D'Lo, and Mike Brown's comment to that is lock in and do your effing job. Oof.
Yeah, it's just really rough. Like, yeah, the curse of the cup is kicking in earlier than it ever has. I think in the NBA so far with the Knicks. Obviously, 7-11 since winning that NBA Cup. But even some of the games that they won after that, it was all down. Even including the NBA Cup, it was all down to individual highlight performances. Coming up clutch in the fourth quarter, and eventually their luck just kind of ran out, and now it's not just that they're losing games; that they're getting well beaten by some good teams, a lot of mediocre teams. Like we've lost to the Kings, the Hawks. Who else have we lost to? The Mavs, the 76ers, the Suns, like it's other inconsistent teams, and that we've made them look like great teams. Like the Mavericks, I think if they're not the worst offense in the league, they're one of the worst offenses in the league, and we made them look absolutely unbelievable on Martin Luther King Day. It looks like it's a complete disconnect on the floor because there's moments during this like tough January that we're kind of like, oh, Josh Hart's missed a few games. He's key for us when we go into these little lulls. He's usually the guy that kind of pulls us out. But then he comes back and it looks just as bad. Like I was saying to you, there just seems to be such a complete disconnect from what the coach wants to what the players are doing on the floor. And it's just lazy defensively. Like their transition defense against the Mavericks, absolutely appalling. And they just cannot, obviously, they just can't hit a shot to save their lives right now as well. And his like whole system is so built around getting more and more 3-point shots and shooting more threes than your opponent and making more threes than your opponent. That's going to win you games. And the Knicks just cannot do that at all right now.
Yeah. In the last 11 games, the New York Knicks, they have a defense rating of 120.6. 120.6 points per possession. That is, I still struggle with this. How much of this is shooting luck? Well, I mean, teams have not shot that great. 34.7% against them over the stretch, so around league average. Nothing crazy. How much of this are trap games? I think a lot of them are trap games. But how many trap games do you lose until they no longer count? I just don't get how a team with this much on-ball talent looks like they have no on-ball talent. I thought I considered Miles McBride to be a very good, pesky, irritant, on-ball defender. I considered Mikal Bridges to have been a elite on-ball defender. I think OG Anunoby is still like it sucks for him that the Knicks have been this bad, but I think he continues to still be a good on-ball defender. Josh Hart feels maybe he's a little slower. So he's slowing down a little bit, but he's not looking as quick and twitchy. He's getting beat off ball, on ball, a lot more than you expect him to. I think maybe our perspective needs to shift on him a little bit on how good he actually is defensively. But I still don't get how a team with this many good on-ball defenders, maybe at this point it's just three. Maybe truly, like if you look at it, it's just three, and then you have massive negatives. Jalen Brunson is still never going to be a good on-ball defender. Karl Anthony Towns is never going to be a backline defender. He's never going to prop up a defense. Is this really as bad as it could be? Did Tom Thibodeau just work magic with his squad? Is there just regression that we're seeing? I'm not really sure where how many holes have been poked in this defense. If it's all the above, if it's player regression, if it's system regression, you haven't seen them really change too much out there to make you think they're making a ton of adjustments. It just feels that they just continuously underperform on that end of the floor, and I don't quite get it.
Yeah, no, and like it's like I said, it just feels like they're just all not at 100%. Like I said, the disconnect. It just seems like obviously after that loss to the Mavs, and that was kind of the time where like the whole world kind of took notice of just how badly the Knicks have been playing, and then you start to hear things. Oh, players have not fully bought into Mike Brown's ideas. Oh, players are pissed off that Mike Brown hugged Draymond Green after a flagrant foul in a matchup. And you just start to hear these little negative things start to trickle in. Then you see Brunson's holding a players-only meeting to figure out what's going on. And it just all comes down, like, defense, a lot of it is just effort. And like, you've seen, like Karl Anthony Towns came out at the start of the season and said, I'm, like, confused about what my role is. And, like, that's clearly that's still there. He's obviously had some flashes this year, but he's like had much more moments of missing a shot and falling on the floor and then not working hard to get back up and get back down the other end of the floor. He obviously always has his moments where at least two, three times a game he just forgets the rules of basketball and thinks he's in the right when he thinks he should be fouled when it's clearly an offensive foul. And like even like just his numbers, like he had 25 plus points 34 times last season. 22 of those he had 30 plus. This so far this year, he's done it 10 times. 6 times he's had 30 plus. He is just so far from the player that he was last year. And like he's the kind of the vocal point of it. And you're kind of like, you're looking at it now as we approach the trade deadline and you're kind of like, who's going to win this battle? Is it going to be Karl Anthony Towns or is it going to be Mike Brown? That's how it feels right now. Are they going to trade Karl Anthony Towns or are they going to fire Mike Brown? That's kind of where I'm at in terms of what I'm seeing on the floor right now.
Yeah, yeah. When you look at the numbers here, it's a little bit interesting here, and I'm not sure what to make of it because you see a mix of everything. But they're last in the league in giving up non-corner threes. They're 28th in giving up 12th in corner threes. It seems like it feels like from what I've seen from them that they're not giving a lot of help off corners, which makes the one-on-one drives off the wing look pretty bad. But surprisingly, they're still sixth in rim percentage, and for a team with Karl Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson, I'm not quite sure. I mean, do those numbers tell me that this is a completely dead defense? I don't think so. I think it's flawed. Their math here is not mathing too bad. They do give up a lot of long mid rangers, and there's a lot of shooting luck there. Teams are shooting 40% off of those. But man, I just think that the vibes is the most important part here, not even the numbers. And the vibes don't
Yeah.
feel good. And
No.
how do they get better? They win, right? Every team needs to have their lull. Every team needs to have their struggles, and the Knicks are not foreign to that. Mike Brown is not unfamiliar with this type of situation, and they just need to string together one win, couple wins. They need to get back together, and this is the kind of adversity they need to get through to really prove to themselves who they are. I still feel like there's enough talent here, and I think there's no trade. Everyone wants to talk about a trade. What trade is there? There's no trade.
No, there's a blow it up trade. Or not blow it up. I said that there's a huge trade they could make where they look to move like a Towns and I don't know some other player like a Towns heart package to try and get another star. Maybe there's something like that. But there's no impact trade really. I think that the Knicks can really make.
Yeah, everyone wants to have this Giannis trade is never happening. It's never happening, and I almost feel bad for Knicks fans who are being fed this narrative. It's never happening. That's never going to happen. They are never going to take a package of bad picks and
Unless Nico Harrison gets the job as GM in Milwaukee, maybe we might have a shot then.
Yeah, if that happens, I'm fully I will not watch basketball for the rest of the season because that is absolutely rigged. There's no chance that the city of Milwaukee can't afford to lose Giannis for anything less than first round picks, exciting young players, and that's not just like basketball. That's just business. Like the city, the literal revenue, the life of this city that has gotten so much money off of Giannis, they are not going to trade him unless he absolutely demands it or unless they get a really good package. Guess what? He's not absolutely demanding it. He's not that guy. And it's not going to happen. Like, there's no package the Knicks can give that makes any sense at all. No combination of OG, Hart, McBride, your young players, your bad pick swaps. Nobody wants that for a Giannis, for a perennial MVP candidate. It's not going to happen.
No. I totally agree. But leading up now to the All-Star break, the Knicks have a pretty favorable schedule. I get the way that they're playing right now. Nothing is favorable, but they play the Nets tonight. They got the home games against the Blazers and the Kings. They are going on the road against the 76ers. They actually have a pretty light schedule in terms of there's no back-to-backs. I think they've got multiple 2-day breaks in between the games that are coming up over the next week, 10 days. So I think this is like a crucial juncture for Mike Brown and for this Knicks team this season.
Yeah, I think they'll get through it. They're a good enough team. They have great leadership, and we've seen them have good chemistry before. It feels too early for this thing to fizzle out, man. It feels too early. It's too early in the run they've had over the last couple of years. But I mean, you never know. I think the reality will be that there's not a way out of it, and they'll just have to figure it out internally.
Yeah, I mean that's that. I hope that's the option, and I hope they're able to come and find a solution. Because yeah, you don't want to blow anything up, or you don't want to make any rash decisions. Which we already know they might have made one when they fired Thibodeau, but hopefully they haven't compounded that now. But we will see. But
Let's talk.
should we talk Warriors?
Yeah, man. Um, I mean, what's there to say? Um, they're before Butler's injury, still hovering in the play-in. Um, Now Kuminga has had 16 straight DNPs and will need to come in and try to fulfill the massive role that Butler has played for this team. I think, in short, this is DEFCON 2. This is DEFCON 1. This is a very high DEFCON for the Warriors, as they're, is this just going to be another throwaway season? Though the West is too good for them to survive at this point. And I think the Blazers, they continue to show that they're going to be there. And I think the Warriors are just going to play in again. It seems definitive to this point without Butler.
Yeah, and I mean, like, people are like starting to take notice now. It's like, oh, this is finally the end of the dynasty. But I think that dynasty ended the second Klay Thompson walked out the door. I know I'm not saying they were wrong to let him go or anything like that, but it just felt like when he was gone, that was the end of it. They had that last title in 2022. Since then, second round exit, missed the playoffs, second round exit. The Warriors team just they are done. Steph Curry still a great player, but he's not good enough to carry a team on his shoulders. Just like LeBron James is not good enough to do it anymore. Just like Kevin Durant is not good enough to do it anymore. They as good as they still are, they can't be. They're no longer Superman in this NBA, and this is just the way it's going to be, and I don't see Steph going anywhere, but he's just going to have to play it out and unfortunately be a little bit more of a mentory role for the remainder of his career, because I'm just not sure what moves they can make to be able to reestablish and be a big threat in the, obviously, as we always say, the hugely stacked Western Conference.
They never trade Curry.
No.
Nobody, yeah. Before anyone goes crazy, everyone's going to go crazy about because I think the Steph fans are going to get out there and say, all right, we need to get him another championship. Where can he go? He's never going to leave. What's my realistic hope out of the situation is that we have some closure to this endless, tired Jonathan Kuminga situation. And I think what's going to happen here, he's going to have to play. And he's, again, going to get benched. And then at the end of the season, it's just over. Like, there who will have to force a trade.
It's funny though. You see Dunleavy's comments about Kuminga.
I did not.
He was like, "Yeah, well, I'm aware of his demand, but there also has to be demand when you make a demand." So basically saying that no one really wants Kuminga. That was the point that he was trying to make. But I mean, like, we've seen flashes. Like, everyone say like this system doesn't fit Kuminga. But at the same time, the 4 games where he played 25 or more minutes in the playoffs last year, or the 5 games rather, he averaged over 22 points per game. Like, there is a player there that can contribute. It just, like, there's something deeper. There has to be something deeper between him and Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr just seems to not have any interest in giving him a chance. And don't get me wrong, I trust Steve Kerr more than I trust Jonathan Kuminga. Like, I'm going to take Steve Kerr's side in this, but like, it's just a very peculiar situation.
Yeah, I think ultimately what's difficult about these plans when you have the 2 timelines, when you have a team that is trying to commit to a current star and commit to younger players, is there's inevitably going to be players that can't play consistently, that they need more minutes to do so. I think that it's fair on both sides. I think it's fair when you watch Jonathan Kuminga, he has a great game, and then the next game, he's just not in the right position offensively. He's not in the right position for screens. He's not, cutting when he should. He's not making the right defensive rotations. And I think it's the defensive rotations that he misses, and the inattention on off ball situations that's the quickest pulls he get.
Yeah.
You see Steve Kerr pull him the quickest when he has those defensive lapses, because I mean that's just non-negotiable for a player at his position. And when has he ever had like a run of more than 3 games of that before he just hits another skid of DNPs? So yeah, it's fair that he has those lapses, and you argue, okay, you've been in the league for a few years now, man. Like you should be able to make those reads. You should be able to do that. But what consistency has he had? Like how much confidence can you really play with when you're a play away from being pulled off the floor? You know that this is a team that's like, we could probably do it fine without you. I don't think we really need you. Let's trade for someone else. We'll play Moses Moody over you. Play Gary Payton Jr. over you. We'll play just about anyone over you. Play this undrafted guy over you. Like there's just too many situations where I feel like that there is no chance in which this works out. No chance.
No, no, I totally agree. It's just a question of, are they going to just not even try, and they're going to try and move him before the deadline, or are they going to just say, "I will just stick it out with him for the year, and maybe something will come of it, maybe something won't, and then we'll really redevelop or rebuild them in the off season." It's going to be interesting to see what way the Warriors decide to play this one.
Yeah. I mean, here's what should happen. That he should get the minutes, and Steve should make some adjustments for him with the idea of, okay, we don't have Butler, we have Kuminga, and Dunleavy should be like, hey, like, work in some sets to make Kuminga work. I know Kuminga may not be a star in Curry's system, but run some offense for Kuminga. Get his value up. Is Kuminga going to be a long-term Warrior? No. Does Kuminga have value when you have the narrative of like, hey, he just averaged, 20 plus points a game, 7 plus rebounds in this playoff series? Can you get him to that level by the end of the season and have him rehab some trade value, and then you have something there? You have an asset. Because maybe he's not your guy long term, but you need to recoup some assets. You need to create some value there, and that's just good basketball, honestly. Like, and if it means that they lose, I don't know. Do you want to be on the edge of this plan for Steph? How many more years does Steph have? If you care about the future of this team, you really at this point have to just focus on the young guys, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and like just dangle him in front of the Kings. The Kings make terrible deals. They'll probably offer a first round pick for Jonathan Kuminga and maybe like Zach LaVine or something like that. Who knows? This is the Sacramento Kings. They'll probably end up making some sort of deal. But yeah, it's interesting. It's gonna be. Yeah, that one. Yeah, I saw some rumors there about the Warriors maybe going for John Morant. Yeah, I don't know about that one, but we'll see. I mean, the Warriors are a team that you always it's always in the back of my head. I always believe that they're going to find a way to make a move or some way beyond all the realms of possibility. But I guess that remains to be seen. Okay, we got anything else we want to discuss, or should we be spinning the wheel right about now?
Let's spin that wheel.
Let's see what we got. Gotta look it up. Who we gonna get this week?
The Kings are off now, right? This is updated. We got no chance for Kings. We got no chance for. No, I love the Wizards. I think we already did the Wizards. We did the Wizards. We did the Kings.
Yeah.
Did our Hornets.
All right, let's get it going. All right, you know what will happen now? That we'll get one of the teams that we already got. Let's see. Ah, the Golden State Warriors.
Okay. All right, Jonathan Kuminga episode incoming. Let's do it.
That's just typical. They must have heard us talking. It's like I thought that only happened on your phone.
Bro, that happens every time. That happens every time. We talk about a team at the end, and that ends up being the team. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's get to it.
Yeah, Warriors. That's gonna be interesting. Oh no, I have to watch Steph Curry play basketball. That's gonna suck. Damn.
Let's get to it.
But yeah, no, that's gonna be an interesting one. Let's see if Kuminga can find his way into some minutes. I feel like it's been a while. I feel like we've had an East Coast run of teams the last while. So yeah, it's nice to flip it over to the West Coast. But yeah, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks so much for sticking with us. 76ers, keep on swimming. Knicks, oh my God, start swimming again. You look like you're drowning. Let's get it back going. Warriors, we will see what you're about over the next week. But thanks so much again. Chris, thank you. Appreciate you. And remember, we're everywhere on social media at Coast to Coast NBA. And most importantly, remember to take every shot and love every moment.
Peace out.